Hello and welcome to Miranda Made. In this video, we're going to be talking all about ease. All right, let's jump right into it. So this video actually is a response to a comment and a question left by Cheryl3366. Thank you, Cheryl, for commenting and giving me a great idea for my next video. So she said, I have a 1960 Simplicity button-down, pattern 4056. I was hoping you could tell me what the ease might be. Also, do you know what sewing bust they are sized to? I'm assuming a B. Thanks. So I want to go in a little bit in depth about what ease is, how it applies to vintage patterns. I'm not going to talk about modern patterns much because really there's a plethora online already that you can find about that, but there's quite less written about vintage patterns specifically. So let's talk about that. On a side note, I'm sorry about the noise. I have a new cat in my house, a new kitten, and she's playing with her toy, so there's not much I can do about the added noise. Okay, so what exactly is ease, first of all? Well, I went to the online library and I pulled out some great resources from the 60s, the 80s, early 2000 to really see what exactly ease is and especially how it applies to vintage patterns. So the first resource I want to share is the Simplicity Pattern Company wrote a book in 1988 called Simplicity is Simply the Best Sewing Book. And this is how they define ease. Ease, or the fullness included in a pattern design, determines how the fashion will fit and look. So ease is the fullness included in a pattern, okay? So how much extra space you have. Now there are two types of ease, and the first one is wearing ease. Wearing ease is defined as the amount of wiggle room built into a garment. The Butterick Publishing Company also wrote a great book called Vogue Sewing in 2000. And this is what they say. Wearing ease is additional inches necessary in a garment over and above the body measurements. Never use this ease to accommodate a larger size or eliminate it when making pattern adjustments. So that means wearing ease is so important that if you eliminate it, you're probably just not going to be comfortable in that garment. The next type of ease is fashion or style or design ease. It has several names, but it basically means the same thing. So what does that mean? Well, design ease is fashion ease. It's the extra fullness over and above wearing ease that determines the garment silhouette. So that basically means if it's supposed to be a slim fitting dress, it's going to have less fashion ease. If it's meant to be a loose fitting dress, it will have more fashion ease. Elizabeth J. Muschino wrote a book in 1975 called The Vogue Sewing Book, and she describes it like this. Style ease is an integral part of many designs and will have additional dimensions added to the pattern beyond the wearing ease, as dictated by the garment's style lines. So wearing ease comes first. It makes the garment comfortable. And then style ease is additional ease because sometimes the garment is designed to be loose fitting. Here's a graphic you can look at to kind of show style ease. Wearing ease, style ease, and measurements. And this is a second graphic. Also, I have some examples right here in front of me. So this reproduction pattern, it does have the ease printed directly on the bodice because it is a modern pattern. However, you can see that the style ease or the design ease is not very much because it's meant to fit very closely to the body. So it has wearing ease, but probably not a lot of extra for design ease. The same with this vintage pattern. Now this vintage pattern does not have the ease printed directly on the bodice pattern piece because that came later as patterns developed and changed over time. But as you can see, it's fitted close to the body, so it's going to have less design ease. As you can see in this 1990 pattern, it's meant to fit looser, so it's going to have more style ease in it. as well as this 1980s nightgown. It's supposed to fit very loosely around the body. It's going to have much, much more ease. So when I made this garment, 2 different designs actually. And this size is actually only a 14 to 16, which would not normally fit me. But because the style ease is so large, it fit just fine. And it still had plenty of wearing ease for my body to sleep in. So that's just one way that ease can really influence the pattern. Catherine M. Doerr wrote a wonderful book in 1967 called Smart Sewing, The Making of Clothing. And she wrote this: "The amount of ease allowed is left to the discretion of each pattern company. As a result, patterns from the various companies differ slightly, although each uses the same basic measurements. For instance, the ease through the bust varies from 4 to 6 inches, depending upon the pattern company and the style of the garment. Strapless dresses have only 2-inch ease through the bust because a tighter fit is necessary. So it depends on the pattern company, it depends on the style, and the function of the garment." Let's look at a McCalls sewing book from the 1960s. Here they have a 3-inch bust ease allowance. So that is even smaller than 4 to 6 inches. And here they list for the waist a 1/2 inch ease allowance, and the hip approximately 2 inches on slim skirts. So if you're trying to make a pattern from a certain decade and from a certain company, you can also try to find a sewing book from that same decade and look at their ease measurements. But again, it's not absolutely necessary. The wearing ease is built in. As long as you're choosing a design that you like with the amount of design ease that's in the picture, you'll be fine if you go with your body measurement chart. So how does fashion influence ease? Elizabeth J. Moschino from 1975, the Vogue sewing book, said this: "There are years or seasons when the trend is toward a closer, more revealing fit as opposed to a looser, freer line." And we know that because if you look at 1950s dresses, they tend to have a closer fit around the bust, around the waist. Some of them have a fitted skirt, some of them have a flared skirt. Whereas if you go and look at the 1990s, we've got big shoulder pads, we've got a looser fit. So designs change, therefore design ease changes. But you might be wondering, why isn't ease printed on vintage patterns? Peggy Hoffman from 1958, So Far So Good, says this: "The pattern allows for the necessary ease in the garment. So it is already cut to allow for the ease which will make the garment fit you properly." So basically she's saying the ease is already worked in there. Now that doesn't really tell us for sure why they didn't print it or why they began printing it. But all that we know is that the pattern companies already put it in there. So if you choose according to your measurements, your body measurements, the ease should already be worked into the pattern. She also said a certain amount of ease, fullness, or drape is built into every pattern and is essential to its beauty and style. So here she's kind of saying basically that it's already there and it's supposed to be the way it is, so don't change it too much. Because if you do change it, you are going to change the design. But maybe you want to change the design. That, I'm not telling you not to do it. It's your choice. But this is what this author is telling us. Can I make a garment based on the pattern ease instead of my body measurements? Elizabeth tells us to have the garment move as you do, never use the wearing ease instead of making adjustments to bring the pattern in line with your body measurements. Okay, so here this is wearing ease. You don't want to change the wearing ease. It will not be comfortable to wear. You won't be able to move your arms well. You won't be able to move your legs well if you do that. But design ease, that's something a little bit different. You can play with design ease, but know this, that if you do alter the design ease, you're going to be changing the design. So how do I select a pattern size? Buy most patterns by the bust measurement because this area is the hardest to alter. Measurements listed are the actual body sizes. True pattern dimensions have wearing ease built in beyond the actual body sizes in most designs for an attractive fit. So anyway, this should give you at least a starting point. If you're going for a dress, go with the bust size. If you're going for a blouse, bust size. If you're going with a pants or a skirt, either waist or hips is what you want to go with. What if I fall between pattern sizes, as this often happens? If you fall between sizes, the small-boned woman should choose the smaller size, and the large boned woman the larger size. However, what if you're only a little bit different? Like say 1/2 inch or 1 inch? Well, Catherine M. Dewar told us this. If your bust measures a little larger, 1/2 inch to 1 inch than the measurement shown on the chart, you need not be concerned because extra room has been provided. That is the ease. So she's saying, at least in the 60s patterns, you can probably get away with using the pattern, even if you're slightly larger or slightly smaller, by meaning 1/2 inch to up to 1 inch. So not a great big difference. Okay, so maybe you're wondering what measurements are available. But I only have 3 resources here because it would have taken a very long time to put all of the decades resources up here. But this should at least give you some sort of a starting point so you can see the measurements that were available and hopefully you'll be able to find them. So this is McCall's sewing book from 1963. And here are the measurement charts. I did not include everything, but I included a great deal. You can also find this resource online. Here's the Vogue sewing book from 1975. I included Mrs. and Women's, so you can see the sizes that were available and the half sizes as well. Now, half sizes, let's take a minute here. Half sizes, according to this sewing book, they were originally for a bit of a shorter woman. So that's something to also take into account. And here's the 1988 Simplicity sewing book. And there are Mrs., half sizes, and women's. Okay, this is not an inclusive, complete reference, but I hope that it's been a starting point for you. And I encourage you to do your own research. Go ahead and find a library, either online or in your town. Look at those sewing books. See what they said, especially in the decade that you're interested sewing in. So, all right, I hope this was helpful. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked this video. Leave a comment if there's something else you'd like to see in the future. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.